How we doing, Misfits family, here on another beautiful Friday? It is a gloomy day in Southern California, but still a beautiful Friday because we have USC football tomorrow, bright and early, 9 a.m. It's the earliest kickoff of the season for the Trojans thus far. They take on number 23, Illinois. Eric, how did we feel about USC last week? We saw them again. It was their second big conference game. They were finally home. It was an 8 p.m. start, but Jayden Maiava continues to look good.
You know what? I had a very difficult time at that game because I was on the field. The late start definitely put my body in a state of flux. Then there was an injury where somebody ended up getting carted off, and so laying on the turf, I almost fell asleep. But that's neither here nor there. I actually checked the tape. I actually called the score, but it wasn't until like the last 3 minutes of the game that they gave up a bomb of a touchdown. But Lambkins is definitely in the building last week. I am here, but I did see a lot. There was no Jacoby Lane, no Elijah Page. The offense was still humming, still clicking. Jayden Maiava, I keep saying it, early Heisman hopeful. I think that performance last week definitely catapulted him up the list of a lot of voters.
Yeah, I mean, his odds have continued to rise. He started this season with the same Heisman odds as former USC quarterback Miller Moss and the quarterback that plays on the other side of town for UCLA. So he's risen a lot already. But let's get into our daily or our weekly segment, I should start. Eric, you want to kick us off? What happened on this week in USC, or on this date, I should say, in USC football history?
You know what? You got to scour the history books far and wide to find something on September 27th. You got to go all the way back to 2004. On this date, Matt Leinart was named the Pac-10 Player of the Week. Now, he absolutely demolished Stanford in a 31-28 victory. He went 23 for 30 for 284 yards, threw a touchdown, but he rushed for a touchdown in that win. And in the same year, he won the Heisman Trophy. Yeah.
It was back-to-back for USC with Bush and Leinart. It took some time for Bush to eventually actually get his Heisman, but in recent years, he's finally got it reinstated. But let's get to injury updates, because I think this is actually, we haven't really touched on injury updates in other episodes, but there's quite a few injuries for USC. So who could USC fans maybe expect not to see on the field yet again?
You know what? Prophet Brown, the past few weeks, I have seen him on crutches. He's still questionable, but he was off the crutches last week. So that's a step in the right direction. Jacoby Lane, an undisclosed injury. Now, take this with a grain of salt, but on the field, I saw Jacoby talking to number 7 from Michigan State. He was saying it was his hamstrings. So I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just telling you what I saw. I'm reporting what I heard.
The lamb chops coming through. The lamb chops always coming through.
And Elijah Page, he was walking spry last week. He's also questionable. But if I had to guess, I think Jacoby and Elijah, they both play.
Yeah, I mean,
now,
certainly.
Conversely, on the University of Illinois, Justin Bowick, he's a starter, wide receiver. He's good to go. The DB, Jahan Clark, he's a huge rotational piece. He's also good to go. Both safeties, Matthew Bailey and Mac Rystich, they're both good to go. Running back Aiden Lowry, he's good to go. However, the Illinois will be without their star cornerback, Xavier Scott. He's going to miss most of the season. He was a 2024 All Big Ten first team, and he was an honorable mention for the All-American team last year. That's going to be a huge blow against this Trojan offense. So that's something to watch.
Yeah, I mean, especially if a guy like Jacoby Lane can get back into the rotation or really just get back onto the field for USC. We already saw what Mekhi Lemon could do when he's by himself. I mean, Tanook Hines was the freshman for USC. He also had a pretty good game. He's gotten more involved in the offense. Jaden Richardson. So certainly other names on this USC receiving core that it's not just, Lemon and Lane. But we got to talk about this team that USC is traveling to see. And like I said, a 9 a.m. kickoff, the earliest we have seen for USC. I remember, I think it was 3 years ago, it was a 9 a.m. kickoff against Boulder. So set your alarm clocks, Trojans fans, because it is an early wake up. And for all you college students, you got to set the alarm a little bit earlier for the tailgating. But we're talking about the Fighting Illini, led by Brett Beeline. He's in his 5th season. Now, I think people already know who this Fighting Illini team is because we saw them last week and we saw them get demolished. I mean, we saw them go into Indiana and lose by 50 plus, 53 to be exact, which is what their worst loss since 2018. To get this, Eric, Iowa. Like, out of all teams, their worst loss came to Iowa, a team that, I mean, this year they're actually offensively doing pretty well, but a team that historically doesn't score points. So, Big Ten football, I guess, is at its finest right there. But really, I think what we saw in that game was a complete dominance from Illinois. They outgained Indiana, outgained Illinois 579 to 161 total yards. Illinois was 1 for 10 on third downs. And the biggest part about it, their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, was sacked 5 times in the first half. He was sacked a total of 7 in the game, but 5 times in the first half. It just was not a pretty sight at all. And, you look at the record, they were 3-1. They were 3-0 going into that game. They were ranked number 9. And I ask you, Eric, did this team really deserve to be ranked number 9? You look at them last year, they were 10-3. They were 16th in the AP poll to finish the season. But there wasn't really that trajectory that was like, oh, this team should have been ranked. They started 12th in the AP poll this preseason. Did they even deserve to be ranked 9?
You know what? You got to look at how they finished the year last year. They didn't lose. A ton of players, and then they got Miller Moss, and everybody thought Miller Moss was a competent quarterback.
Louisville.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Luke Altmaier's a quarterback. Yeah, it's okay. You know what? Funny you mentioned that because I do see. Funny you mentioned that because Altmaier and Miller Moss, I do see a lot of comparisons between. But I digress.
Yeah, Luke Altmaier. You know what I'm saying? He's the quarterback. So there was a lot of momentum coming into the season because they didn't lose any household names. I didn't think it was unwarranted for them to have the number 9, but after going and suffering such a huge defeat at the hands of Indiana last week, Indiana had 312 rushing yards. That's embarrassing. So no, they weren't worthy of being a number 9, but did I think that they will plummet all the way down? To the bottom of the top 25, I didn't think that as well. Yeah,
the week before, Illinois was actually favored to beat USC, and now USC is favored by 6.5 points. And I'll tell you this is I know we're not in the prediction stage yet, but Luke Altmaier this season, he's thrown 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I'm calling it right now. He throws his first interception of the season versus USC tomorrow. I'm already calling it. I think what I have seen thus far, and we know what D'Anton Lynn does when he disguises pressure and blitzes as well as in coverage, he's going to trick Altmaier a lot, and Altmaier is going to fall for it and throw an interception. I'm calling it now. You heard it. The chef is cooking right now. But I want to move forward because I think this was an interesting topic, and it was brought up during coaching interviews this week at USC football practice. Lincoln Riley was not pleased with the inconsistencies in the Trojans kickoff, just times in general, right? Last week, you already talked about, Eric, they had the latest kickoff of all the college slate. And this week, now they have the earliest at 9 a.m. And it's obviously a huge game. This is what he said exactly. He said, going from absolute latest kickoff in the country to the absolute earliest kickoff in the country has its challenges, but the challenges, like, it is what it is. We don't make the schedule clearly. Now, clearly, he was a little sassy with the clearly. Do you think Lincoln Riley has the right, especially just USC deciding to jump to the Big Ten in this whole realignment in general?
I mean, there's an argument to be made, but I like sassy Riley. You know what I'm saying? I like when Lincoln is a little upset. Granted, the internal clock, right? They're traveling across the country. They're playing in Champaign, Illinois. That's a 7:00 time here in Los Angeles. So that's pretty early, right? Yeah. But the thing is, you don't get to make your schedule. Eat your food. Whatever's on your plate, you just got to eat it. If it's lima beans, if it's broccoli, if it's Brussels sprouts or spinach, you just got to eat it. So I expect and anticipate the Trojans going into Champaign, and at the end of the game, they'll be popping champagne.
Yeah, it's almost like there should be conferences that are structured around time conferences. Oh, wait.
That would be dope if like the West Coast had their own conference.
Yeah.
Like, they say like maybe like 12 teams.
I'm thinking maybe something like Pack. I don't know. It sounds kind of cool, but I digress. But look, I understand where you're coming from. I do like sassy Lincoln Riley. I will say you've seen a little bit of character considering, me and you both, we cover USC. We've seen it. They're media trained to the max. So the fact that he's coming out, he's talking to his mess. But I think at the end of the day, look, this was, and I know it wasn't just a Lincoln Riley decision, but truly football is what catapults any, college program. They decide to make the move to the Big Ten. This is what happens when you now got to travel across the country and you don't just have to travel up to Berkeley or, Eugene or even Washington, Seattle. This is what happens. And so I understand where he could be coming from, but you kind of chose this route now. You're going to have to play these kind of funky schedules because now you got to travel to Champaign, Illinois. You got to travel, to We're talking about popping champagne. Eric, what type of statement can USC make? And I preface this because this kind of feels like a big game. And I'm not saying a must win, but it almost sort of does of either USC could take it to the next level, say, look, USC last year, they were not very good on the road. They obviously beat Purdue 2 weeks ago, but this is now a ranked opponent. You're going on the road. There's obviously momentum for Illinois when it comes to they want to get back right. It's their homecoming game. What kind of statement can USC make on Saturday in Champaign?
You know what? They can make the same announcement that Christopher Columbus came when he came on to Santa Maria. Hey, we have arrived, right? You're getting ready to go through this gauntlet of a stretch in your schedule. You got Illinois, Michigan, you have the meat and potatoes of this Big Ten coming. And last year, everybody wrote you off. It was your first year there. Now it's time to let the Big Ten and the rest of America know what USC football is about. And I do think this week, USC is getting ready to make a statement.
Yeah. And I fully agree. I think USC is ready to make a statement because I think it not only shows, look, you can beat a ranked opponent, but USC can go on the road in a ruckus atmosphere and beat them. And that has been a little bit, that was the flaw last year with Lincoln Riley, even against lower opponents like a Maryland, like a Minnesota. This is a chance to say, you know what? We're going to put ourselves on the map. We had obviously a cupcake schedule to start the season. And look, Illinois is not going to probably, be there at the end of the day in the college football playoffs. But we're going to come out here, make a statement. You give us a crazy time. We've had to deal with all these time changes, whatever. We're going to come out and flat out ball. But I want to move forward. And, we got to talk about a player / matchup to watch. And I'll give you mine. And I know this is a broad one, but I think if you don't pay attention to this, you're not going to watch the football game. The trenches between the USC defensive line and Illinois' offensive line is what is going to determine this. And I think at the end of the day, USC, they're going to feast. They are going to feast. This is a USC team, and I should say specifically a defensive line, a front seven that has been coming after the quarterback consistently. They are they are hungry bears, and they just want to eat. And that is what they are going to do to Altmaier because this Illinois team, they gave up 7 sacks versus Illinois. They lead the Big Ten in sacks. I just think overall they're getting, Jakeem Stewart back, the star freshman. I just think this is where the game is going to be won for USC.
I totally agree. I'm looking at Cameron Fountain, Anthony Lucas, Braylon Shelby. I think this is a game right here where 5 sacks is not out the realm of possibilities. But even more than that, I'm looking at Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon, I don't think has gotten enough notoriety and respect this year. I think Makai Lemon is getting ready to put up another 100-yard game. So, you're looking at the trenches. I always look at the trenches. Makai Lemon is my player that I have circled. This game right here, he becomes a household name.
Yeah, maybe a few more zesty touchdowns from Makai Lemon would help. But moving forward, we'll finish up. Look, we've been perfect, and I don't want to jinx ourselves here. I don't want to jinx ourselves because we still have plenty of this season to go.
Got to stay humble.
Got to stay humble. We still have plenty of this season to go. A lot of ranked opponents coming up on the schedule. You got Michigan, you got Notre Dame, you have Oregon a little bit later on in November. Eric, what was the term you used to start the show? Lambstradamus.
Yeah.
Lambstradamus. Well, we got another one in us?
I think so. Let me pull it out the sky. I'm seeing 35-24 USC. Mekhi Lemon, he's going to actually catch 2 touchdowns.
Who's
I think Wayman, he'll score 1. But I think this game is really going to hinge upon Jayden Maiava's ability to avoid sacks, find Mekhi downfield. I just think there's too much firepower in this passing game. I love what Lincoln does in terms of putting Lake and Mekhi, and I think Jacoby is actually going to play. You don't need Jacoby to be 100%. Just open up enough for Mekhi to work underneath. This game, it should be close early, but I think after the half, like maybe halfway in the third quarter, USC will pull away.
Yeah, you actually stole the words out of my mouth with that last sentence. I do think at the end of the day, USC, they're going to take that first quarter to adjust. But I think once they realize, look, we're a more talented team, we're a better team, they're going to come out in that second half, like you said, and explode. But I didn't mention this in a matchup to watch, but the fact that this is on Big Noon kickoff, it is a national televised game. It is the first game that the East Coast is going to watch. This could be Jayden Maiava's coming out party. And I mean that in the way that if he comes out and he balls, we're going to see those Heisman, odds skyrocket. If he comes out and he throws 250 and he throws 3 touchdowns and this offense is humming and he's driving them up and down the field, this is a true chance to put himself on the national stage. And, we know the history of Lincoln Riley producing Heisman quarterbacks. He's no stranger to it. He produced one already at USC. So I got USC winning 35-17. I agree with you. I think there's going to be some, it's obviously a road game, getting that body clock right. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to come away with this one. But that's been it here for week 5 pregame show of USC alongside Lambstradamus. I've been Jude Reynolds O'Connor, and we hope to see you next week when USC continues to move up in the rankings. They're number 21 right now. Can they crack the top 20? But other than that, have a good weekend. We'll see you next week.